Welcome to episode 10 of the PTS podcast where the Poulters talk sports. My name is Paul, joined as always by my brother Daniel, and today we are in full-fledged mock draft season. Okay, this will be our first official mock draft. We'll be controlling about half the teams. We still haven't actually gone over some of the key details. There will be no trades in this draft. We'll all be done via PFF's trade simulator and mock draft simulator because it's the best there is. I'm on odds, so I'm going to end up going first with the Tennessee Titans. Daniel will be going starting second with the Cleveland Browns. Um, Now, the question is, I believe I know the answer. Are we doing this in terms of what we think the team will do, what we want the team to do, or what we would do? I assume it's what we think the team will do.
What we think the team will do, but it's up to your own discretion.
Okay. So let's start at number one. This is probably the most boring pick in the draft because if you look at betting sites, this looks all but a certainty at this point through the process. Now, the question is whether or not the Titans are making this pick, which does look like it is the most likely scenario as of right now. But I will be having Miami's Cam Ward going number one to the Tennessee Titans,
Wow, rebellious.
which means you are on the clock with the Cleveland Browns.
So I'm not the biggest Cam Ward. I don't like really many quarterbacks in this draft. I think
Same.
this is one where you punt if you're trying to get a quarterback, but Tennessee is Tennessee, and I guess I don't know. I think you take generational player. It seems like another one of those classic Nick Bosa drafts where it's like, hey, the generational defensive player is sitting there. Probably take the generational defensive player instead of the quarterback, but this is a quarterback driven league, so it's
But I
understandable,
think we
but
would have all had Kyler Murray above Cam Ward in the process. So at least that's more understandable
correct.
for the Cardinals. So
So for me, this is very it's a very simple process. It's either do you want Travis Hunter or do you want Abdul Carter? Um, and knowing the Browns, they will mess up whoever they pick.
nice.
Um, Luckily behind them is um the New York Giants. I am going to go with who I think is the better overall prospect. I'm going to go with Abdul Carter to the Browns because Garrett plus him.
It's a pretty good.
Even if your offense sucks, that's something to for fans. Like unless you're going just for jersey sales, and then you probably go Hunter. But I'm gonna go
Yeah.
Carter.
Now, there's always been rumors with this team with quarterback. Deshaun Watson has been an unmitigated disaster. I would argue at this point that trade is the single worst trade in the history of the NFL, given the subsequent contract as well as the off the field stuff with Watson. So there is discussions of Shador here. I would not want Shador to go here. I think Shador really needs like a really perfect team to find
I also
success,
I
and
also
I don't
don't
think the Browns are
know
that.
where he's going. Like there's a lot of speculation of him falling. I'm very low on him already,
Yeah,
but like the second quarterback in the draft, unless it's a historically bad draft, which it
could be.
could be.
I mean, there's
But
rumors of Jackson Dart getting picked ahead of him and in the top 10. We will get there when we get there.
yeah, it's
But
gonna be
so
weird.
let's go to the New York Football Giants. Um, Now the Giants are in a really interesting position. So first and
I'm not sure if interesting is the right word. I think
simply because
desperation hellhole.
they are a desperation hellhole because they made the decision to keep their coach and their GM another year.
Yeah.
Um,
So
this would be a really easy choice between either trading back and getting more assets or taking the top tier player on the board, which for both of us I imagine would be Travis Hunter. The problem is this regime needs to win this year,
yeah,
or they are going to get kicked to the can.
I think
Okay,
they're
kicked
kicked
to the
to the
curb.
can anyway. But that's Unless they make, I
I
think it's playoffs or bust for them, and I don't think this team is making the playoffs with any draft picks. So like, but they're still like, if I was them, I'd draft an offensive lineman. They will not be drafting an offensive
yeah.
lineman. Um, so what are you thinking? Who gets stuck in the good old Big Apple? Well, of East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Again, if I were making the decision, I
Cold?
would probably trade out. Probably. Now, again, the thing about saying you would trade out is obviously you have to find a part. You have to sign someone that wants to come up for a player in this draft, which maybe in this draft especially you might not get. I'm going to take Travis Hunter here. He's the best player on the board. I think he's the best player in the draft. I think that you could play him realistically, you know, selfishly for fantasy football. I want him to be a wide receiver first, but I think
Yeah,
more likely in the NFL he's going to be 100% a corner with, 20 to 25 reps on offense every so often.
he's going to
So,
be the special package wide receiver who is a lockdown corner. Though he talked a lot of game, and like it's like Colorado was still pretty bad. Like
yeah.
it's just kind of like
Well, Colorado had a lot of problems. Their
Colorado had
offensive
a lot of
line was
issues.
not
I
good.
I I just have a feeling it's gonna be one of those picks where it's just like he was a good pro. He's not a Pro Bowler. I just think he's
Yeah.
gonna be good.
Yeah.
All right, pick four.
Good
Pick
luck.
four. Um, this is where a lot of the draft starts figuring out itself. And when I mean that, there's a lot of different ways that can go. The Patriots need good players. They need physical players. There's a new regime. Um, I don't think that I think that crosses out wide receiver. I think that crosses out Tyler Warren. I think the Patriots are gonna go offensive line. I think they're gonna get some trenches, but
You
I'm
have
gonna
options.
go. I'm gonna go
I know where
with
you're going. I
Membu.
knew you were going Members. So,
We're
for the
going
record,
Membu.
little bit of context for the Patriots, okay? So, Gerard Mayo, one and done. See you later. Okay. Brought in Mike Vrabel. Okay. The big decision right now towards the top of the draft is Will Campbell is seen as the best offensive lineman. The question is he a tackle? Is he a guard? Because the last time I remember a guard going top 5, 6 in the draft was Quentin Nelson with the Colts.
To be fair,
Um,
he was also a Hall of Fame projected guard
right.
and is looking like a Hall of Fame projected guard.
Membu looks like he's going to play right tackle at the next level. Is going to be his best spot. So I don't
Probably, yeah.
I don't hate the
I
pick.
really like I really like Membu's feet. I really like his physicality. He played in the SEC, same with Campbell, but um he kind of got put on an island, but like he has so many shades of a young Trent Williams where it's just like if they don't mess him up,
Yeah.
he's going to be really, really good. Of
Which I
course,
think
the thing is, so like if he was to end up on the Jets or the Jaguars or like something like that, I think he would struggle. But I think he's going to go to the Patriots, and it's just going to work out quite well for them.
and for the Patriots, you're realistically protecting the one thing you care about on your team, which is Drake May. So it's a win-win for everybody. I'm up at 5. I've got the Jaguars. Jaguars are in a weird spot.
They are in a weird spot.
So they've got the former offensive coordinator from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming in to run their team after some weird drama with that. Trevor Lawrence is coming off season-ending, I believe, shoulder surgery. Um, he took a lot of hits, um, and it's interesting because I've actually seen this team be more flexible in mock drafts recently. So I've seen mock drafts. I've seen Ted McMillan go here. I've seen Mason Graham go here. I've seen Ashton Genty go here. I've seen Tyler Warren go here. I have seen all of it. Um, Now, if I were picking for this team, I'd probably pick an offensive lineman because I think you build offensive linemen first almost always when you can and then build out the rest of your team. But I don't think this is a team that thinks like that. So there is an interesting player that I have now started to see mocked as high as 5.
Hmm.
And Todd McShay just yesterday in a video said he does not expect this player to get past 8 with Carolina. So I'm actually going to have the Jacksonville Jaguars take Jalen Walker out of Georgia. Okay, so Jalen Walker,
Sure, sure.
he's listed as a linebacker, but he actually plays more 4-3, like
He's the Micah
edge defensive end.
Parkins
Yes,
tweener go Berber.
correct. And his upside is really high. Now, you could argue the Jags made a pick of a guy named Walker who was high traits upside a couple years ago, didn't
Oh,
work out so well.
I'm
But
I'm glad I predicted that one, and I was like my
uh,
emphasis on that. Not that he's been like bad, but he's been
no,
not
he's been a
first pick good.
serviceable player. He's been a serviceable
Um,
player. He's just not a number 1 overall pick. So,
yep.
um, I think at some point in the top 10, someone's going to reach on somebody because they think that there's not blue chips in this draft and they'd rather reach on the potential. And I'm going to have the Jags do that at 5.
Okay.
Now you get the former Oakland and now current Las
Let's win,
Vegas
baby.
Raiders.
All right, we're going down to. I went down to PF Chang's. I talked to Mark Davis. He was
Does he like to
there.
hang out at PF Chang's?
Mark Davis.
Uh-huh. Please don't say
Every
that's every day. Yeah, I knew it. I knew
every
you were going to say
sing
that. I
the
knew it.
Walnut Creek PF Chang's
Yeah.
every single day for like that man loves PF Chang's.
I mean, Chinese food's good.
I
Like, I get
know,
it.
but it's spread it out, man.
Yeah.
But
What?
I walked down the strip. I went down to the PF Chang's. And I was like, Mark Davis, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna be responsible? Get your
No.
quarterback of the future? Are you gonna be responsible? Get an offensive lineman? Or are you looking at Saquon Barkley and be like, I want one of them. I want a sparkly toy. My father, wait, I want speed. Girl, I'm frothing at the mouth. So there's two choices they could go here.
Yeah.
There's many
There's many.
reasonable
Yeah.
ones. Are you going Ashton Genty or are you going McMillan?
Yep. Those are the two I see the
Um,
most often for this team.
and like you traded away um
Devontae Adams,
Devontae Adams, you're probably trading away your backup tight end. You have
Michael Mayer. Yep.
no wide receivers. You do have one singular Brock Bowers,
Yep.
which to be fair, you did well there.
Yeah.
I'm very biased, but you did very well there.
Yeah.
So getting good players, I don't believe a running back unless it is a Barry Sanders apparent like you can just know that they are that good. I don't know if Ashton Genty is that. The other fun thing about running backs, you can trade for a star running back. And what I mean by that is or sign one. Saquon Barkley, second contract, new team, proven running back. They signed him. He did great. Christian McCaffrey, traded for, proven star. You get him for a third, like thing. Drafting a high running back and failing gets you fired.
Now, to be fair, I don't think Pete Carroll cares about being fired in 2 years because that's about
Also, that's
how long he's going to coach. So
yes. Um, my gut tells me that the Raiders they also they put a big emphasis I think they had a off-season thing where they're like we want to run the ball.
yeah, of course they do.
So
They have Chip
it's
Kelly and Pete Carroll. So
yeah. Ashton Genty is the pick even though I probably wouldn't take him in the top half of the first round. I'm not like a um
not Mel
so
Kiper with the
no
shouldn't
there's
draft a running back in the first round.
I I'm not that extreme but like this is also a historic supposedly I'm running this as air quotes because like I like a lot of the film but you never know
Yep.
supposedly a really really good running back draft if that
Yep.
means you go get one in the fourth you get two
Yep.
of them get three of them throw picks at them.
So Ashton Genty going 6 to the
Ashton Genty
Raiders.
and now for
So
the New York flops.
I believe once again I saw this in Todd McShay's video. Okay.
Sure, we need
You
to
are
have
gonna
some original ideas. Thank you.
you're gonna be stunned by what I'm about to tell you because I doubt you've heard this. The
Let
New
me
York Jets.
let me look. Let me look.
Okay.
Are they gonna go Hampton?
No, although there is a rumor that if Genty gets to them, they would trade Brees Hall and take Genty. But so you got to think about the Jets. They've been desperate to be not terrible for so long. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They just brought in, I believe, Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator from the Detroit Lions, to be their head coach.
Yes.
But so, like, when I hear someone's coming from like the Lions, I'm thinking they're going to build inside out, just like the Lions did. Take a
Mm-hmm.
take a cornerstone tackle, defensive lineman, something like that. I believe, and I want to give Todd McShay as much credit as I can in terms of how he phrased it. I
Mm-hmm.
believe he said, I only changed this because I didn't want to deal with New York media. But what he's been hearing
Oh boy, here we go.
is that people in the Jets hierarchy
Which are
of people
known to
that
be
that
they're known to be
make decisions
known to be bad shit. Yeah.
love Jackson Dart.
Ooh.
Okay? Now, to be fair,
Ooh.
the Jets were the team that decided to not trade for Jerry Judy because his Madden rating was too low.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
So, this organization stinks. Okay?
Hmm.
I think they should take Tyler Warren. If you want a wide receiver, go Ted McMillan, compliment Garrett Wilson, help out Justin Fields.
I'd just
I'm
go best.
telling you, I think they're going to take Jackson Dart. So I will be taking Jackson Dart
That's
at
gross.
7.
That's very gross.
Also known
Uh.
as PFF's 142nd ranked player.
Yep.
You know who Jackson Dart reminds me of? In
Um.
the same Nick Bosa draft, there was a certain other New York, New Jersey team that decided to take a quarterback rounds ahead of where people thought he should have gone and took Daniel Jones 6th overall.
I think he's a little more. Much.
Jones is definitely more athletic, but he also had injuries in college, which was a concern.
Yeah.
I remember vividly because it's the funny number. Connor Rogers had Daniel Jones ranked as his 69th player, which means an early third round grade. So, Jackson Dart,
All right.
welcome to the fiesta.
All right. So the Panthers, like, as we have the board right now, there's a couple of interesting options. There's because would the Panthers jump on McMillan if he's still there?
That's the only offensive player I could see them ever taking. Like,
Yes, correct.
were they the team that
Unless
signed Keenan Allen? Let me check. I want to say they were the team that
I don't
signed
think that
Keenan.
matters though.
It sure doesn't. I'm just letting you know.
Um, Especially because um Bryce Young and McMillan played against each other in high school in the same league
Yeah.
at relatively rival schools. They're familiar with each other. Um, it makes a lot of sense on that front. Do you pick a wide receiver at 8 when you could just get a defensive lineman, or Will Campbell is just kind of sitting there, just like, hey, protect your quarterback that you may think is good now? Because I do think Bryce Young, I don't think he's going to be like a star in this league, but like he's currently projecting to be acceptable. And
Yeah.
that's all the Panthers need in that division.
The implication is that he's still on the Bears. I could have sworn the Panthers had signed an aging old wide receiver that wasn't Adam Thielen, but maybe I'm wrong. That's okay.
um,
Yeah.
but I'm
I think they go defense. I think they have to go defense.
question is, are they big Mason Graham fans, Walker Nolan? But I think I'm gonna go with a weird one.
I think I know who
Uh,
you're gonna go. I'm gonna highlight him right now.
what are you thinking?
Thinking Mike Green.
Mm, tempting. It's the person right above him. I'm gonna go Campbell, linebacker out of
Jihad
Cal.
Campbell. Yeah.
Yeah, who's been going up the board super quickly. He was projected as like a second or third round pick, and then through the process, he's just skyrocketed. People like, oh, I really hope we get him in this like late second. He's going top 15. I
Yeah.
think I think Carolina, even though I would take a tackle. I would probably take McMillan. I think the Panthers are gonna be like, hey, we don't think this guy will be here if we trade back up. I think they just go and get him. Especially they're used to Luke Kuechly. I know it's a difference between outside and inside linebacker, but they built a team based off a linebacker. I could see them convincing
Mhm.
themselves to do it again.
They made the Super Bowl with that fellow, so
It's
there
true.
there are worse decisions to make. So I'm up with the Saints. Boy, the Saints are weird. I feel like the Saints
It's
might
got
be
to be a
the
quarterback, right?
strangest team in the league. So if you somehow living under a rock, Derek Carr has some medical issues, I believe, with his shoulder. He might be potentially out for the year. So all of a sudden, Saints are staring down the barrel of year two Spencer Rattler. Okay. They have Kellen Moore coming in from the Super Bowl champion Eagles. Um, really probably wants to put his stamp on the offense. Now, the Saints have historically had an okay defense, um, but frankly could always use more help. They've got the they've got Cam Jordan, who's getting pretty long in the tooth at this point. They've got they could use some offensive lineman help. Do you really want Alvin Kamara to be your primary running back for the next couple of years? Do you want Chris Olave and his history of concussions to be your number one receiver? Like there's just it's a mess in New Orleans. This comes off
Mm-hmm.
to me as a multi-year rebuild.
It should be, though.
They,
The NFC
I
South
mean,
is bad,
the
so
NFC South is winnable. The only team that feels decent is the Bucks,
like the
but
Falcons should be good.
Falcons
Like
should be good with Penix,
the
but you
Bucks
never
should be
know.
good, but
Panthers
you
should
never
be
know.
better, but
What are
um,
we thinking? What are we thinking here?
I am gonna go as you said with a quarterback, and I do think this is where Shadur Sanders' slide does come to an end. He'll be put into a system with Kellen.
Not the jump, not the Milrose
No,
jump.
I debated
Milrow
Jalen
jump.
Milrow, but I think
I don't see like people have been talking about him like jumping up the boards, and I think that's just the hey, it's a quarterback that people are trying to convince themselves.
I mean let's remember, okay, so this is peak smokescreen season, okay?
Yep,
Right
true.
before the draft previously, Will Levis was rumored to be a top two pick. Malik Willis was rumored to be a top 10 pick. Boy, did neither of those happen. Okay, so, but I'm going to take who I think is the better prospect compared to Milrow, especially with Kellen Moore, I think trying to build more of a system around Shadur than trying to fit the quarterback into his system. So I will take Shadur Sanders,
All right.
which means you get the Bears,
The Bears.
who, boy, another team I have seen mocked all over the place.
All right. Here's the unfortunate thing is if this is how the draft actually goes, the Bears, the 49ers and the Cowboys just
Are going to
start
be
like
ecstatic.
they just start jumping and going,
No,
God, teams are
absolutely.
stupid.
No, three quarterbacks in the top 10 would be insanely good for everybody
So
else.
so the Bears originally I'd be like you jump on Will Campbell a thousand times because their offensive line was one of the worst in the league last year, and their quarterback is proven to be something you could do.
But
And then
they spent
spent
that shmoney.
and they spent all their shmoney on offensive linemen saying we ain't even going to think about it.
Yeah,
So that leads me to be like, that's a luxury pick if you go Will Campbell, even if you're just like, hey, we're
fill
taking him
in
as a
somewhere.
flex picks where it's like,
Yeah,
hey, if we lose our guard, he plays guard.
yep.
If we lose our tackle, he's tackle. I'm not too worried about the short. I think it was arms or hands,
Short arms. Yep.
which I'm not too
Is it
worried
like?
about. For,
Is it like if they don't get 32-inch arms or something, like scouts freak out or whatever? Like,
yeah, it's one of those where it's just like, oh, what about if he had to block Aaron Donald? It's like,
well,
well,
it's like,
he's
well, guess what?
retired and
He
that
doesn't
doesn't
have
matter.
to. Yeah.
Okay,
So
no one wants him
I
though.
once again think I know where you're going, but I want you to.
So I think uh, their new head coach is known for. I think if Ashton Genty was here, they
They would
snap him up.
snap him up.
Snap
Yep,
him up.
agreed.
I'm not a big fan of any of the other running backs. There's a chance they do the same thing they did before. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take Tyler Warren,
Yep, yep,
Penn State.
yep. Gives them a nasty
Um,
12 personnel with
gives
Cole
them
Kmet.
nasty 12 personnel, which they really want. It gives them the ability to be cute, which offensive coordinators love being cute whenever they can just show off of how smart I am,
Look,
how great. And this,
if I would bet anything this coming NFL season, just keep betting every single day, just for like $5. Just bet that like a running back or a tight end is gonna throw a touchdown for the Bears, and then as soon as it happens, you skyrocket. Oh boy.
but now comes the yield cluster, which if you told Mike Lynch, John Lynch,
John Lynch.
and the 49ers that you would have McMillan, which though I will actually state, even though I'm a huge McMillan guy, I don't think he's a Kyle Shanahan guy, and I'll
No,
explain that in a
he's
second.
he's not on my radar for the Niners. Nope.
Um, well, this could be one of those times where someone, and not where we're not doing trades, but this could be
No,
one of those
this is a perfect trade spot. This is a
where
perfect trade
if
spot.
someone wants to hop up and get McMillan because he's slide, you drop down 4 slots, you still get one
I
of
was
the
gonna
five
say
players that
the
you want.
Falcons trade up for a defensive player. Cardinals could trade up
So
here. Like,
the
there's a
main
lot.
reason I don't think McMillan is going to go there, and it's for one reason and one reason only, is McMillan is the perfect example of just the prototypical freak.
Yeah,
He's going to out freak you. He doesn't have the best, like he admitted, I think, in the draft process that like last year he didn't know how to break down film or didn't watch it. He just said, I went out and they're bald. Like
yeah.
that's the type of wide receiver he is,
He
which
comes
for a
off as
Kyle
very DK Metcalf to me. Like
a little.
the knock on DK coming out and why he fell to 64 was because he had a 3 route tree. And that was the only thing he could do. Was he ran he ran up the
Mhm.
seam, he ran a post, he ran a curl, and that was like all he could do. And like, but if the ball's near him, he won't catch the ball.
So
And
I think Shanahan especially is all about, hey, run my exact little like pencil perfect route and I'll get you the ball. Which so
yeah,
I don't think that, even though I think he would still like, I think he would eventually be good, but in the Niners who want to do well and have to do well this year with a bad schedule, I don't think you do that. And not that this is like my pick, but I think if you were to tell them they had McMillan, Graham, Campbell, um,
Walter
uh,
Nolan, Mike
Will
Green, Will
Johnson,
Johnson, Kenneth Grant, like
even I've heard that they really, 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 really love Kelvin Banks Jr., who runs the same exact scheme in college that Shanahan does as an offensive tackle. I think if they were to trade back, there's a good chance they go and get him. Um, but what are you feeling?
well, initially I was gonna take Will Campbell, but you have convinced me. I'm gonna have them take Kelvin Banks Jr. because I do think he better fits their
Mm.
system. I understand that maybe he's seen of a lesser prospect, but I also think his role is more defined. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
the Niners typically like players with more defined roles. Now, you could argue Debo Samuel didn't have a defined role because he was that weird running back wide receiver
Mm-hmm.
hybrid, but I'm going to take Kelvin Banks Jr. here. And I'm very curious because I would bet all the money I've ever seen what the Cowboys do with this pick just based off of the rumors I've been hearing. So I want to see what you're saying with these guys.
I also think that Mason Graham is a player that they would heavily look at if he's still there.
Yeah. I
All
think
right.
if Jerry picks, I know who the pick is. But if Steven Jones picks, I know who the pick is.
Uh, um. Hmm. Here's the thing is though, Jerry's done this thing once in every while where he'll do the smart thing and just take the offensive lineman.
Yep, they took Zach Martin over Johnny Manziel. Like that was
Yeah.
crazy good. But
So to me, it's either because like maybe McMillan, but like part of me is like they already are paying their wide receivers an absolute truckload unless they're like, hey, we're gonna offload one and he's just sitting here and we'll take him. I think the Cowboys will take Will Campbell.
I
Unless
think
you can
that's the
convince me.
smart choice. Nope. So the
And I
rumor
hate
going
saying the
around,
Cowboys. I hate saying things like Cowboys do something smart, but like
the one
sometimes
thing
they
that I've
do.
the one thing that I keep hearing is they do really like Matthew Golden, the wide receiver out of Texas. Um, but I think if the board falls this way, I think they have to take Campbell. He's just
Yeah.
so they get back to, even if you get a running back day 2, day 3, you can plug him in behind a better offensive line and you're in a better spot.
So I think the next pick may be obvious, but I don't know.
I frankly don't have a great feel on the Dolphins. So I know generally the Dolphins take freaky athletes everywhere. They take freaky athletes on defense, they take freaky athletes on offense. They want to kill you with speed. My initial gut thought is Mike Green,
I
an
think
edge with high upside,
my
but
my thing is them big. I think they will be taking a corner. I think
yeah.
they're big on corner, but what you're saying about freaky athlete does make sense for Mike Green.
They also, Mason Graham is on the board, and we are
He
at pick
really is.
13. And the question is Miami the type of team that would take someone like a Mason Graham? I'm trying to think of historically how the Dolphins have picked. Um, so, for example, they took Jalen Waddle over Penei Sewell. They took Austin Jackson, which was a bit of a reach, but a position of need. So I feel like they focus on traits and need more so than like best available player. So with that in mind, I think here they could use a corner. This is a good question because I've actually seen these guys kind of differentiated. Who's your top corner in the draft?
I like Will Johnson a lot.
Right. So Will Johnson, I think he's coming off he had an injury, I believe, this
Yeah,
past
I think he
year.
had like a toe or something. I can't exactly remember, but he was out for basically most of the year. But when he was playing, people just don't target him.
Well, it looks like
And like,
was I didn't think Jade Barron was hurt, but oh, it's locked because I don't have the information. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay. Yeah, Barron's interesting because Barron, I want to say some people are scouting him as a safety instead of a corner. I mean, I'm looking at their needs, right? Guard, tackle, oof. Okay, guard, tackle, defensive interior, and corner. The best lineman right now would be Gray Zabel, probably, who I know is a really popular name in NFL circles. Man, man, oh man. Let's roll with Mason Graham. I don't think he would get
it's a
past
safe
this
one.
point. So let's go with Mason Graham.
Okay, time for
Replaces
this.
Christian Wilkins, who they lost to the Raiders a couple years back. Helps beef up their line, slow the game down a little bit.
All right, time to figure out some mistakes or not.
So I will tell you, I don't think I've seen a mock yet where this is not a tight
A
end.
tight end. Yeah, that
That
that's
doesn't
what.
mean that's right. And now
But
keep in mind, nobody had Laiatu Latu going to the Colts last year. Okay, so the Colts kind of dance to their own tune. So
true. Um, I I think there's a decent chance they go. I think if like this feels like a tight end. It feels like such one of those like if Tyler Warren was still there, they're 1,000% jumping on that. Um, I think. Hmm, they also seem like the type of team that's like would go for Mike Green. Um,
I
but
was
let's.
literally going to say I feel like this is a perfect Mike Green team.
I think this.
If you look at Chris Ballard's history of taking players, he jumped on Anthony Richardson. High traits, high character, low floor but high ceiling, high
Uh,
upside player. Like
but speculatively, Mike Green may not have clean characteristics.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a couple of potential off the field things with Mike Green. So
Yeah, especially when like it's so wild when it's a red flag. It's so I guess depressing is the right word. Where it's like, he stayed at Marshall for a second year. That's a pretty big
I
red
know, I
flag.
know, I know. Didn't want higher competition and all
Well,
that
not
stuff.
even higher competition. Where it's just like in the age of money getting thrown around, where he's just like, I'll stay here.
Yeah,
It's okay. I'm gonna go Mike Green. I would
yeah.
normally go a tight end, but I think there's not any that I would take at 14.
So I'm on the clock with the Falcons. Man, this
I
team
think they
needs
I
a
think they
lot.
just run to the podium, don't they?
What, and take Tet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think at this point you pair him with Drake London, you spread out the team. You got Bijan, Tet, um, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. You just make stuff happen. So I will be taking Tet McMillan here. You are on the clock with the Cardinals, and I'm gonna let you talk for a couple minutes. So good luck. So here we go.
Okay. So with the Cardinals, this is very much one of those uh best available, but like they're a defensive team. I think they're going to go defense because there's no offensive lineman that you're just like, I've got to get that guy. I don't think Josh Simmons is till the end of the first round type of cat. Maybe they go up and try to get the North Dakota State Gray Zabel. I don't think so. Same thing with Shamar Stewart. He's gonna get picked in here somewhere. I just don't know where exactly, just because he's such a hard thing. It really feels like the Cardinals end up with a cornerback here, either Barron or Will Johnson. I'm much more of a Will Johnson guy. He proved to be the best player in the national championship game for Michigan a year and a half ago, and that doesn't really change. Like, he didn't run a 40 time at his pro day, I think, this week, and some people are like, oh, he's guaranteed not to go in the first round now. 40 times are one of the most overrated stats of all time, and I'm not really worried about that. Overall, I think that this could also be a place where you just take best available if they really like needing a safety, or just like big old Walter Nolan is there, and they're just like, hey, let's jump up and snap that up. Let me see if there's anything more down the list that's looking just kind of jumps out at you. Um, I don't think the Stanford wide receiver. An option potentially could be Mikael Williams, the edge rusher from Georgia. Wouldn't be too bad of a pick. I think there's a chance he goes up there pretty early, which is not the shabbiest thing in the world. Let's see what we're looking at here. But I think there's a decent chance. I think they're going to take Will Johnson. It just makes sense to me. Um, Maybe he's already gone, or maybe he's falling down boards. But I think overall, Will Johnson is definitely the pick for me. But let's see here. So we'll talk a little bit about the Bengals before my brother gets back. I think the Bengals right here would probably um, really look at Walter Nolan. I think he's definitely a possibility. They could also just jump at. I think they have to go defense. If this pick is offense, I think it's just batshit insane. I think they could go edge rusher just because if you think you're going to lose out on your star defensive lineman because you paid Chase and Higgins all this money, I think you have to have that pick on the side. Um, Maybe a James Pierce Jr., Donovan Zikuaku, Starks from Georgia. Well, I think Nolan, unless they really like Barron. I don't really know. But this could also be one of those things where if you are really, really sold on Tyler Booker, the guard from Alabama, who seems to be getting a lot of hype, even though he's a guard at 17 is still very early. But overall, I think That's really not the biggest worry in the world overall. I think that that could be someone who is a really solid potential pick, depending on things how they shake out. Um, I think I think they're gonna go Walter Nolan, but we'll see what my brother has in store. Let's kind of go over our draft so far. We've got Cam Ward number one, Abdul Carter number two to the Browns, Travis Hunter number three. We got Membu going fourth, Jalen Walker going to the Jaguars, risky name. Ashton Genty to the Raiders, Jackson Dart to the Jets. Oh boy, oh boy. We got Campbell going to the Carolina Panthers, Shadur Standers going ninth to the Saints. Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State, one of the only people to play center and get thrown a touchdown this season. Kevin Banks Jr., the Niners jumping up maybe a little bit too much to get Kevin Banks Jr., but they get the better fit at offensive tackle, what they're looking for. Will Campbell goes to the Cowboys. They're really ecstatic to see that one. Mason Graham fell probably a little bit farther than people thought, but he's a really high floor prospect that I think the Miami Dolphins would absolutely be ecstatic for. Mike Green to the Colts. Uh, super athletic. I think he led the nation with like 21 or 17 sacks this year at Marshall. So not shabby. McMillan going to the Atlanta. Does Atlanta really need him? You could argue yes or no, but when the top three prospect in the draft, or four, depending on who you talk to, falls that far, you got to look at it depending on not character issues, but just scheme fit. I think a lot of teams just don't need a wide receiver this year. It's kind of a very big luxury pick. Um, but I think that could be really big. I have Will Johnson going 16th to the Cardinals. He's my top corner in this draft. I really like. He's big. He's physical. Just absolute blanket. Lockdown number one corner. You pick him. You don't worry. You just have a good time. Let's see here. Next up, let's see the next couple picks. Let's Seattle Seahawks. Edge rusher. So like, I could see them going Kenneth Grant, or anyone that kind of. I could also see them going Starks just to kind of get that true defensive backfield for the Seattle Seahawks. Get that kind of that green dot back there, just to like they did with the Ravens, and kind of get that player who can just kind of change everything. Hello and welcome back.
Who
I
did you have the Cardinals take? Have you said
uh
yet?
yes, I had them taking Will Johnson, quarterback out of Michigan.
Yeah, his slide stops. He's such a polarizing player because his he was probably top 10 bound before he got hurt,
He was top
and now,
five. And
yeah.
it's like top five, and it's like, oh no, we got a top five prospect for yeah, cool. Sign me up.
So let's look at the Bengals. Boy, it would be really funny if they got a skill player, wouldn't it? They
I
were
I,
just
th-
like,
I was saying there's astronomically no way they can take an offensive player and not just get run out of town.
they just take like Luther Burden to be their third wide receiver.
Oh, bro.
No, I will be having the Bengals take a defensive player. The question is, what defensive player? Bengals, I would think they would like to solidify their defensive line, especially with the Hendrickson question mark looming over their head. He's the only player that hasn't gotten that extension. Obviously, both Chase and Higgins both got theirs. Um, I mean, this has Walter Nolan as a much higher rated player, but compared to this player,
Mm-hmm.
even though this player's ADP is much higher, so I'm gonna go with Kenneth Grant, defensive lineman out of Michigan.
Mm.
Kind of stays in that general area. It's gonna fill a hole,
Big old
and
run stuffer.
yeah, good old run stuffer because Bengals need something. The Bengals need they need to do what the Panthers did a couple of years ago, and every single draft pick is on defense, except for maybe an offensive lineman. So you were up at 18 with the new look Seattle Seahawks.
All
Where do you think they
right.
go?
To make sure that they don't turn Sam Darnold, who I still don't get that free agent signing at all, but if they don't draft an offensive lineman in the first round, I think they should just be keelhauled. Like
Hmm.
looking at it, it's like there's part of me who's like, oh, maybe you go Starks or like you get like your green dot like back end Hamilton type guy, but I think you go offensive lineman. I think they're gonna go with the North Dakota State Gray Zabel.
Gray
Um
Zabel, that's the kid I
Gray
had
Gray
highlighted right
Zabel.
now.
Um Mainly
Yeah, I know.
because I think Josh Simons from Ohio State is a better if he's healthy. The problem
Josh
is,
Simmons, yeah,
yeah,
but he's not healthy.
uh, but he's not healthy, and you don't know if he will ever be healthy. I fully expect him, unless you pick him, he will be taken by one of the like bottom four teams as a full luxury pick, and that's okay. What do
Yeah.
you got next?
So in terms of Gray Zabel, I know Mina Kimes, who's diehard Seahawks fan, has been look kind of targeting him at this pick. I think it just makes so much sense. I mean, if you're gonna invest in Sam Darnold, which both of us don't think you should have, but if you're
Yeah.
going to, you better double down. You're in this dance now, so you better protect Sam Darnold. So Bucks at 19. I'll be honest, this is a complete homer pick. Um, I so on the NFL Stock Exchange, okay,
Mm-hmm,
their host, um, Trevor Sikma,
mm-hmm,
diehard. He's from Florida, diehard Florida
mm-hmm,
Gators fan, diehard Bucks fan, the whole nine.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And every time it gets to this pick, he swears up and down that they are going to take Donovan Ezaraku, the edge rusher from Boston College. So that
Mm.
is where I will be going with my pick.
Edge rusher from Boston College.
Now you get a fun one. You get the Broncos, who I have seen, I swear, every offensive weapon mocked to this team. It's not their only
Um,
need, but boy, is it a need that people talk about a lot.
I think that the Broncos, if they're not going to take the guard out of Alabama, which is what
Booker, right?
which is what I think
Yep.
they should do. I think they're going to do a little bit of a strange one. I think they're going to go with Alec Ailmenor, the wide receiver from Stanford.
That guy is really interesting. I've seen him creeping into the first round. This is
He's been creeping, and I think this is gonna be one of those ones where they'll have fallen in love with him. Where I'm not really big on maybe the besides the wide receiver from Ohio State, he may have been the one for this pick, but I
yeah,
think for some reason I just have the Stanford kid as the second wide receiver. I can't tell you why, but it just he's been creeping up on boards way too much for someone not to jump way too early and grab him.
it's funny. My bias is kicking in when it comes to this guy because there was a kid out of Stanford who I remember the Eagles took that was supposed to be good. JC Arcega Whiteside, something like that.
Yep, yep.
And he was not good. And now every time I see Stanford wide receiver, I like cringe a little bit. And so I need to get over that bias, but I keep having I'm gonna keep this one short and sweet. Um, I think with Dart, Shadur, and Cam Ward all off the board, I think the Steelers are out on first round QB. If they're out on first round QB, they are going
Unless
to
they
take,
really like Milrow, but
which I don't think they do. And if they do, I think they would trade up for him in the second because I don't think he's going anywhere in the bottom of this round. I think they would take Omarion Hampton, running back out of North Carolina. They famously took Najee Harris at a similar spot 3, 4 years ago. Um, I believe that might have been pick 22.
mm-hmm.
Um, I'll be honest, Steelers have had kind of up and down luck with picks around here. They had Kenny Pickett, they had Najee Harris, stuff like that. But I'm going to give them a running back with, I believe, the only main running back on their roster being Jalen Warren right now. So
So I think let's see here. Harbaugh is always going to pick something funky. Though I think
yeah,
this one makes it a little bit easier for him. I think they just end up with Walter Nolan and they're just happy. They're just like, oh, that somehow got here. Cool, that's
yeah,
fine by me.
yeah. I think it's interesting because you're seeing a skill position kind of group fall here. You've got three of the top wide receivers still on the board. You've got Colston Loveland, who could make sense for the Chargers there, but I I just think defensive interior is such a Harbaugh thing to do. I think it makes the most sense. My Green Bay Packers are on the clock.
Green Bay Packers.
And I will tell you, I'm going to pick a guy I haven't looked into a lot. So I don't know
Oh,
if he's good.
oh,
I'm just telling you, I've seen so many people talk about the Packers love this guy. He fits their like the
uh
Packers
huh.
have a very specific like you have to be this tall, this fast in order for us to draft you at XYZ position. They have a very
Mm-hmm.
specific thing. I think by far their biggest need is corner. They will address that here. They are going to take Maxwell Hairston, the corner out of Kentucky. I have
Okay.
seen
Okay.
him mocked to the Packers by a lot of people in the know. Frankly, the Packers just take high upside players with not a crazy ton of hype a lot. This could be a Michael Williams spot. I don't think they're taking a wide receiver. I just don't. I know a lot of people think
Mm-hmm.
that's a popular pick, but um, even with Golden on the board, even with Burden on the board, even with Igbuka on the board, they don't take a tight end because they have Tucker Kraft and the other guy that I'm now forgetting that they've had for forever. Um,
So
so I'm gonna go with Maxwell
I
Hairston.
think with the Vikings on the clock, I think the Vikings just like run up to the thing and they're just gonna kick Barron from Texas and just
I was gonna say,
slot him in.
if Barron's on isn't on the board, I normally see Starks here, but if Barron's on the board, he's kind of a do it all back end player for
Yep.
you. So
What do you got for the
oh boy,
Texans?
Texans are interesting. I would love an offensive lineman here. I don't love the tackles in this spot. I don't mind Tyler Booker if you wanted to pick a guard.
Mm-hmm.
Best available tackle that isn't Josh Simmons because they can't afford to take him would probably be the kid out of Oregon, Josh Connerly.
Yeah, he's
Um,
okay.
but I think what they're going to do, they did not re-sign, or they either didn't re, yeah, they didn't re-sign Stephon Diggs. They Tank Dell. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if that guy ever plays football again. He had a devastating leg injury after having a devastating leg injury the year before.
Mm-hmm.
They've got Nico Collins. I think they're going to look to play with Nico, and
Mm-hmm.
I will give them a speedster in Matthew Gold. Well, hold on. Now that I think about it, CJ Stroud might campaign for them to take a Mecca Ibuka.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get the Ohio State connection. I'm gonna go with a Mecca Ibuka here. I'm
Makes
gonna go with
sense
the
to
Ohio
me.
State connection. This is a fun spot. This team could go
Okay.
so many places.
Yeah, I don't think they're going tight end.
They
I
could. Loveland's fell, so
eh,
if
I,
they were gonna take one, it would be one of the two top guys, and one is there.
I don't know. I think someone will take the Bowling Green guy over Loveland or the Miami guy for before him, but
Have you seen where a lot of mocks are putting to the Rams here?
no.
Before the hype, this was a Jackson Dart spot for a while. Because the Rams have holes, but they're kind of in like a holding pattern right now. Matthew Stafford's towards the end of his career. Would they take Jalen Milrow? I don't think so. Like
I
I
think
feel I feel like they're more likely to take some athletic freak on the defensive end, but maybe I'm
I
wrong.
think I think this could be just one of those like let's see here. Where's the second? I think it's too early to pick the kid from UCLA, but I think they're just gonna go. I think they're gonna go edge rusher. I think they're gonna go James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee.
Who I think is the player I have seen have the widest range in mock drafts. I have seen him taken, I think, as high as 5, and I think as low as the late second, early third. So
That's a lot of this draft. There's a lot of, but that's also depends on like, hey, what defensive lineman do you like? And depending on what the answer is, depends on if they go first or second round. The Ravens, what are you feeling there?
I feel like the Ravens are just going to take the best available player generally. That's
There's a
kind
good
of been their
chance.
forte for a long time. They historically um, took Kyle Hamilton a couple of years ago when he was considered the best on the board. They took a center a couple of years ago who fell into their lap. Um, Now this is interesting. They could use a wide receiver. I just don't love receiver and Ravens. It's just not worked. No matter what they
Yeah.
do. Like Zay Flowers has been nice, but like outside of that, like it just feels like they've tried like with Rashad Bateman. They brought in at one point they had Sammy Watkins, they had Odell Beckham Jr. Like they had all these guys. It just doesn't work. So if I'm scrolling through this list and I'm just trying to see who's like the most consistent player, high upside player that's maybe fallen a little bit. I'm going to go with Michael Williams here,
Okay.
edge out of Georgia, SEC kid, you know, just freak athlete. Could be gone way before this, but I think given with the way the board fell, they're going to take Mike Hill here and be quite happy with it.
So the Detroit Lions, what do they need? I wouldn't surprised if they just do something out of left field. This could be one of those weird tight end angles. I think they're going to just like C player, pick player, and I think they're gonna go for a swing and a miss, and it could be a really big miss. But I think they're gonna go Shamar Stewart.
Yeah, makes sense. They need edge bad. It's weird. I see their needs as wide receiver, which was kind of weird to me because I mean they've got Amon-Ra and Jamison Williams, and to be fair,
Yeah, I don't think you need a third wide receiver. I think you can draft
Jamison
one
Williams
later in the
kind
draft
of
and not.
scares me because he's gotten in trouble off the field a couple times, including
True.
for like he was like betting at the facility. He wasn't betting on NFL games, but he was still betting at the facility and just like all this other stuff. So we are down to the last four, and we've actually got a surprising amount of talent on the board, which I think is really nice for a lot of the teams that are trying to compete this year. Um, so I'm up with the Washington Commanders, who present an interesting conundrum. So they've got their quarterback set. Running back room could use some work. We're sitting on Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson. Wide receiver room, they picked up Debo Samuel. They've got Terry McLaurin. Tight end, they've got Zach Ertz still, who's sitting in front of a kid who some people thought I think is Sano, the kid that some people like. Um, I think this team is all in on making Jaden Daniels the best player he can be. So the
Yes.
way you help do that, you get an absolute mauler in the run game, an absolute top tier offensive
Mm-hmm.
lineman prospect. I'm going to give them Tyler Booker, guard out of Alabama,
Mm.
who I think helps cement that line. And they are going to play through Jaden Daniels and try and win some playoff football games that way. So you're up with the
All right.
Bills, who I think have to take a wide receiver here, right? Given the way the board fell.
Probably. They probably see it and just go, yeah. The question is, I don't know. Let's
I
see.
mean, so they
I think they're
extended.
probably gonna go Burden just because like Golden's more of a speedster and in the snow that's not great.
Right. So they're sitting on right now. They have Keon Coleman. They signed Josh Palmer. Who cares? They extended Khalil Shakir, who had a nice season for them last year. Um, I mean, they could take defense if you look at their needs. All three of it's on defense, and I don't think that's an absurd thing. I mean, the question is like, where's the value right now? Nick Scorton's on the board. Um, I just wish a team
Mm,
needed Malachi Starks. I just don't like him still being here.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it just feels like a luxury pick, kind of. I
I
don't I
think
don't
they're
know
gonna
what
go
their corner
Burden.
situation. Yeah, I think they
Yeah,
would too.
I think they're going Burden.
Big possession receiver. The
Chiefs.
Chiefs, huh? Boy, it would just be such a Chiefs pick to pick Matthew Golden and just fucking fly, wouldn't it? Um,
True, especially if depending on if.
right. So Rasheed Rice is still pending his off
Uh-huh.
the field incident. So, but he looked amazing before his injury last year. Um, Now, what's interesting is given the way the board fell, Travis Kelsey ain't getting any younger. Okay,
True.
Colston Loveland is still on the board. Now, that doesn't feel like a Chiefs pick to me. I feel like the Chiefs just want consistency, quality. Frankly, if I'm looking at offensive line, I don't think this is the team that swings on Josh Simmons. I just don't.
Probably not.
I think I think they know they need to hit on their first round picks. Like they need to take advantage of the talent that falls. You know, I'm looking at their needs guard, tackle. If I'm looking at guard right now, boy, the guards have dried up. So I'm not going guard unless you're looking at an offensive tackle that could kick into guard. I like Josh Cornerly. I don't think he would be the pick. So let's see. I'm gonna have them take Derek Harmon, the defensive interior player from Oregon,
Okay.
help out
Okay.
Chris Jones. I think, frankly, I think that division is maybe the best division in football. You've got the
Probably.
Raiders who now have Geno Smith. You've got the Broncos who looked good last year, and then you have the Chargers and the Chiefs. So I think being able to stop a Harbaugh team, a team potentially at this point with Ashton Genty, and then
Hmm.
Sean Payton offense, I think defense is going to be the way to go, which means your Philadelphia Eagles are last up.
Super Bowl
Yep.
champions. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
oh, I bet
Respect.
they're going to get a big, big cheer in Green Bay in a week and a half.
Oh,
Big cheer.
big. They're gonna push that.
Boo. Yeah.
They're gonna push it right through.
Yeah.
Um. So I see there's three picks that I see right here. You
So
either
hold
and
on, hold on, hold
and
on.
most of
Let
it's
me,
all value. So
yeah, let me take a guess. Okay. Colston Loveland,
yep,
Josh Simmons,
yep.
Malachi Starks.
See,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Which
not
is
that
funny
hard in the
because,
one.
well, they could use a third wide receiver, but I think Golden kind of overlaps with what
Eh,
Devontae Smith does, and I've seen a lot of wide receivers mocked here, just for the record.
I don't like the only way that like yes, it could be one of those things where you're like, hey, we just won the Super Bowl. We're gonna trade one of our wide receivers because we can't pay two wide receivers 25 million
Yeah,
plus. I
Jade A.J.
think
Brown before he gets angry.
I think the Eagles can well they've already got the goodwill. It doesn't matter if they win the Super Bowl next year.
Yeah.
Lane Johnson is probably going to retire next year.
Yep, I think it's his last year. Yep. He's looking for a
And
back to back.
if
He
you
doesn't get
have
back to
the
back. See you
people
later.
who speculate is the best tackle in the draft, if he can play, that's worth spending. If you get a franchise right tackle for another generation, but it's a risk where it's just like if it doesn't work out, you wasted a pick, but you won the Super Bowl. No one's gonna care.
Counter argument. Malachi Starks went to Georgia.
Ooh, good point. Good point.
And
But the thing
Howie
is that
Roseman loves his Georgia
he
Bulldogs.
loves Georgia, but he likes defensive
I was
linemen
gonna
from
say, yeah,
Georgia.
lineman from Georgia. So okay, so
I think he's going Simmons just because I think that is a absolute just
let's see.
slam dunk if he works out.
So pick 32 is going to be Josh Simmons. Just as a recap for players that were not picked in the first round: Malachi Starks, Matthew Golden, Colston Loveland, Trey Amos, Nick Scorton, Josh Connerly, Benjamin Morrison, Jaden Higgins, Siobhan Revel, who is the player that I want the Packers to take. I want them to not take a corner in round one and then
Hmm.
take Revel in round two, is what I actually
Okay,
want them to
okay.
do. Um, I would say those are the big ones. You could argue some other players that at times have gotten first round hype. Players like Caleb Johnson, if there's a run on running backs at any point. Um, and most of the guys I named before, mostly Scorton, Simmons. Sorry, you took Simmons, Golden, Loveland, and
Hmm.
Starks. So that's going to do it for our first mock draft. Probably one of two or three, if I had to guess, before we
Mucky mucky.
inevitably have the draft next Thursday. We've spent about an hour talking our heads off. Do we want to recap anything else, or do we want to leave that for a
Uh,
separate time?
we can the only thing I would say as we step into the bar. Oh,
Also known
connection
as the. Nope, you're good.
failed. Is two things I want to mention.
I bet one's Jung Hoo Lee.
Jung Hoo Lee is pretty
He's
nice.
real good. He's real good.
I still love that New York media is like the Giants are 11-4. Who the hell are these guys? These
I
guys are
know. I know.
West Coast shitters. And then
I
Jung
know.
Hoo Lee dumpsters right field in New York State. And they're like, oh my god, this Jung Hoo Lee. Oh my god. Oh.
Uh,
Also,
as as of right now, by the way, they are up 6-3 on the Phillies after three.
well, the Phillies are having a time.
Yeah.
But I will say that uh, um, uh, that there's a section at Oracle this year called Hooligans, and that's fantastic.
So they're bringing guns.
Oh no,
No, they're
um,
bringing these guns.
the other thing that I wanted to say was
Yeah.
the San Jose Sharks got their tragic number, so they have the best odds at getting the number one pick again.
Again.
Again, though it's like a 50% chance they get third, but it is been speculated that this is a 4-player draft where there's 4 really good players,
Hmm.
and the Sharks are going to get one of them.
There you
Though
go.
what they're really hoping for is there's a generational defensive prospect, and the Sharks have 0 defensive
Our
players
defense.
except for
Yeah.
the one guy they drafted last year. But
For the
you
record,
can't really go wrong.
the Dallas Wings are on the clock right now.
Oh my god, the Wings are on the
And
clock.
I wonder if they're going to take Paige Buchers or not.
I
I
love what
wonder.
they posted on Twitter. I think they're like, "Are you guys ready to turn the page?" And I'm like, they did that like this
Jesus.
morning, and I'm like, okay, we knew what you were doing, but
Yeah. Who else are they going to take? Like, come on.
all right. So I
And
think
and
anything else?
then yeah, I would touch on just quickly. So to wrap up the Bay Area,
Oh yeah,
uh, the Warriors pissed me off. All they had to do was beat the stinking Clippers, who I know have been really good in
Clippers
the
are really good,
second
dude.
half.
They're
Paige Buchers
weirdly
is officially
very
the number
good.
one pick in the WNBA draft.
Uh,
Um,
whew,
big shock.
she's good.
They just needed to beat San Antonio, and apparently they can't beat San Antonio without Victor Wembanyama. So losing to Harrison
Harrison
Barnes
Barnes.
with his like revenge game. Um, so it's that was really annoying. And
It is, but I also expect them to beat Memphis, and then they still get 5 days off instead of 7 because
yeah,
they're
so they're
scheduled to play Sunday night if they
right. So
win.
they play the last game, which is really nice for them. So they're gonna play the Rockets.
Yeah, if
And
they
then
win, if they
if
beat,
they yeah, if they beat Memphis, which they should beat Memphis, but
both won.
if they don't beat Memphis, they play winner of Dallas Sacramento,
Kings, yeah,
which both games, whatever, if they're playing any playing games, they're at Oracle, so
yeah.
that's cool.
So that's
Um,
chasing.
they whatever they really need to not lose to Memphis because if they play Oklahoma City in round one, I'm going to be very depressed.
Do you remember they have a winning record against Oklahoma City
I
this year?
don't care. I just don't care. I'd
We
rather play the
believe,
Rockets. Yeah.
Jimmy Butler. We believe. No,
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what the Warriors can do because this is I still until they get eliminated. The Kendrick prophecy is still true, 1,000% true. Whenever he drops an album, they have won a championship.
Is that a thing?
That's the thing. Last time he did it
And
was in 2022.
so is the last one he dropped the one with They Not Like Us or whatever like attached
Yes,
to it?
they
Okay.
did it
Okay.
GNX this year. So
Winnable. Winnable.
winnable. Though I do expect with the Warriors, like this entire postseason is just, hey, we figured out that Jimmy, Draymond, and Curry works. Hey, every single free agent
Come
that
this
is
way. Yeah.
a low money person that can maybe do something. Come on
I
down,
hope
brother.
they sign and trade Kaminga for value if they're gonna let him walk.
Well because he's a restricted free agent, they basically can. They because they
Yeah.
own his bird rights, they can tell every single team, "Hey, we will match this even if
Match.
it's
Yeah.
stupid."
Yeah.
We will match this unless you give us XYZ. It's not going to be a lot because, especially after not playing him all this last game, and clearly
Uh, did he
people
not?
both
Did he not play against the Clippers?
they fully benched him.
Oh no! Oh no! 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 No!
Which I think it's frustrating because like we're in April. This is not October. Like there's a lot of people on Twitter. It's just like you gotta let the kid play. You gotta let him. I'm like, well, it's big boy hour, and big boys don't pout and not like. It's like his biggest problem is besides he's having the lowest scoring like shooting percentages of his career across the
Yeah,
board.
he's not efficient. Yeah.
And he's not efficient. He's a ball stopper. He's insanely athletic, but it's like one of those things where it's clearly it was a Laker pick, and clearly it hasn't worked. It
Yeah.
like if you put him on the Charlotte Bobcats, is he going to average 25 and
Yeah, it'd be
10?
sick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he'll be on the Charlotte Bobcats
And they'll win like
doing
15
nothing.
games.
It's
First
like
of all,
it's
Charlotte Bobcats don't exist because they're the Hornets.
the shot. Well, you go back in time. Whoop.
You know what's funny is I'd rather they play Guy Santos than freaking Buddy Hield. Get that guy off the team. That guy stinks.
Well, they didn't play Buddy Hield for like 20 minutes, and then they're like, you know what we should do? Cold.
Out of timeout game. Yeah, out of timeout
It
game
was the
winner.
exact same play they did with Clay against
Yeah.
Dallas like a year or two ago, and also failed
Yeah, I was gonna say,
miserably.
didn't Clay also
He
whiff? Yeah.
also massively whiffed as well from a bad shot, and it's just like,
I know
what
Quentin
what are
Post
we
is
doing?
like young, but you got to play him more than 10 minutes too. Anyway,
Yeah,
so
yeah. Let's
that's
let's
the
let's
recap. Let's hope they win. I hope the Lakers lose. Lakers fans are annoying.
yeah.
So
Oakland Roots report will be out tomorrow night or Wednesday. They're
sounds
playing in
good.
the U.S. Cup versus the Tacoma Defiance, and they should hopefully win. And if they don't, we burn it down to the ground. But that
Nice.
will be on Wednesday. See you then.
See ya.
Bye.
Have a good day.